And we're live.
All right. What's up, guys? Shawn Bowen, Full Circle Investment Group, wholesalingoutofthebox.com, doing our lunchtime live today. And actually, we're at the lake. So, good little view, little getaway down here in Lake Gaston. So, but anyway, coming in here, I want to chit chat with you guys a little bit more about last week. We were talking about core values in your company and what that looks like. And, you setting up what you are as a person, what you want other people to look like when they're working with you, whether that be joint ventures, employees, doesn't matter what that is, right? So the thing we want to talk about today was how you're setting your company up as a virtual company, right? I think a lot of people are going to see in this COVID world where we've been virtual for probably the past 5 years, right? And really good in the past 2 and 3. But all that was stuff that we originally started. I set this business up based off of how I wanted to move around and do things and still operate. Didn't matter where I was, right? So that's what this has worked out to be. So that's what we're here to talk about today is if you want to do this business, how do you set it up to where you can do this and be on a vacation like this and still operate and still do business, right? And still keep things up and running with all of your team. So I wanted to talk about that, and that's anybody that's ever read the book Traction is a really good book speaking to this, right? How do you set yourself up? What SOPs do you have in place, right? So standard operating procedures. What do you have as an operation system, right? So what do you have as a CRM? What do you have as a call system where you track all this data? And guys, if I'm glimpsing down here, I'm looking at my notes that I'm going over. And then how do you keep yourself accountable, right? Guys, while we're here, remember, you can click on the button. Actually, I'll leave you here a link that you can go live, ask questions during all this. And if you want to come on, we're here for the next 30 minutes and try to talk with you and try to engage with you, right? So if you guys are here while I'm live, come up here and ask questions. I got no problem at all, going live and trying to help you answer them. But so being a virtual company turns into how do you keep yourself accountable, right? And that is based off of tracking KPIs. So KPIs are key performance indicators, right? When you are running a company, you have to be able to see measurements, right? So how many mail pieces went out, how many calls came in, how many return calls went out, and then how many appointments did they go on, how many contracts did they get, and then closings, right? That's all part of tracking those numbers. That will help you stay accountable. And then how do you stay focused and motivated? And I say, go back to step 1 and step 2, because if you have those standard operating procedures in place and you follow them, you will ultimately get to how do you stay accountable, which is tracking your KPIs, which will keep you accountable. And then staying focused and motivated means that those will show growth. Then you learn how to read those numbers, right? You learn how to know what's working for you as a company. So you got these guys online saying, go spend $500 or $1,000 a month and you'll do a deal and make, 5 or 10 grand. I think that's pretty presumptuous because how do you say that? I don't know what your talk is like. I don't know what your level of knowledge is in real estate. Like, I have none of those key factors to play in and say, like, this is how you operate. But we do for a company, we know how we are. So I can give you a starting point and say, do these pieces in order to start measuring and see what you look like as a company. But I don't see how you could do that, right? And that's what I learned kind of the hard way in the beginning, right? When I first started, I was just a notebook guy and had no CRM system and none of that stuff. And I was all over the place, right? So organization is probably the biggest key of all this is staying very organized in the beginning, right? And how do you set yourself up virtually is using everything that's available today to keep that straight, right? You have your Google Drives, you've got your Zooms, you've got your CRM systems, you've got a lot of different things in the virtual world of electronics, your phone and your computers and all that kind of stuff that just keep you, connected to these things. And if you force yourself to learn how to operate that way, I promise you'll pull back from having to be like, oh, I got to be in an office every day, or I've got to be at this desk, right? What if you're not at that desk? What if What if you're not around that notebook? Do you have access to that? Does your company have access to it? Do your employees have access to it? How do you access that stuff if you're not physically there, right? And can the operation still run if you're not there? And that's what is like reverse engineering this into making yourself a virtual company. So let's try to take a break for a second here and see if you guys, come on while you're here and talking and listen to me talk. If you're here, Ashley's going to leave you the link. You can join us below and let me know if you have any questions. Guys, running a virtual company is a lot easier than most people think, right? And I say that only because we're really good at it and we've been doing it for quite some time. Ashley, when she first started with us, she was able to go over across seas, and she was over in Europe and was able to operate, and it was awesome, right? We were still able to function, and that was really got interrupted there. We still live?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
yeah, we're good.
Okay. When we first started, Ashley was I don't think I even got to meet her for the first few months, and we were operating, right? She was getting paid, business was getting done, because that's how we had set ourselves up. I had originally set myself up as a company in order to even get better doing that, right? So that is very, very important, is to focus yourself and push yourself to what you want to look like as a company. Doesn't matter where we are, right? It doesn't matter, as long as we have an internet connection, a computer, and a phone, we're operating. And that's the simple and ease of what, if you want to do this as a business, to where, sure, if you want to sit on the beach with your computer, I think it's the funniest shit ever. Like, I'm not taking my computer to the beach. I'll sit in something like this, or I'll sit up on a desk or something, or like a table. But you see guys sitting in chairs with their computers on the beach, and I think it's funny. I'm not getting sand on my computer. I'm not taking my computer to the beach. But anyway, you can travel, you can be mobile, and you can do this business to where, if you set yourself up as a virtual company and force yourself to use it that way, and force yourself to sign things electronically, put documents in certain places electronically, it forces you to live in that world, right? And then it becomes a lot easier to stay in that world when you decide to travel, and operations can still move, right? So guys, again, appreciate you coming on here and listening to me. I'm trying to do more of these and basically connect with you guys and explain to you how we operate as a company. And if you're interested in finding out more about us, we're going to be doing more of these broadcasts. We're going to be doing more of these shows, episodes, I guess. And eventually we're building into a podcast to help you guys, listen over time to what it looks like from the start to finish as a building a company scenario, right? That's what we're trying to do here, is end up working with other people that are starting from scratch, right? And this COVID world has forced people to go into the virtual space, which is awesome, right? I think you're gonna see a lot of companies that are gonna be like, oh, we don't have to have a sit down office meeting every 2 weeks at this building. We can do it in a virtual world and things can still get done. That I think is going to be a big eye opener for a lot of companies, and it's going to change a lot of business. So I've really enjoyed it. I know that our employees and our staff has really enjoyed it. Now, the other part that we kind of talk about is accountability. And the accountability part is tracking your numbers. But past tracking your numbers is how do you get up and go to your office, which is 2-3 minutes down the hallway, into your office and begin work, and turn off your life, as in, like, you can still operate with your life and do things, but still get your work done, still do, run your business, and be able to operate. So that's something that I think best probably serve, like, for me, it's how I've always been. So I don't really know. I've never really worked for anybody. I did when I was younger, super younger, but I've always had my own company since then. So my motivation was to get up and go do business and make money, but learning how to grow that was a lot harder in the beginning. But after I learned to track myself, have the standard operating procedures, have the accountability and the tracking, the numbers, and seeing all that, that's when you can see the growth. And then recently, we've also looked at it as a company and seen it, and it's huge. It helps your company grow. So let's see, who do we got on here? Anybody here live? Anybody got any questions? Let me see what the chat looks like. Running by here.
Collin's on. If you want, he jumped on. If you want to bring him on screen.
Say that again.
Collin is here on screen.
Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. Let's go.
Hey, what's going on?
There he is. Collin, what's up, man? How are you?
Not too bad. I'm just trying to figure things out. And I mean,
Cool.
You kind of, since our last chat, brought me into the CRM world. So I'm trying to figure out why don't I have that yet is a good way to say it. So
Okay.
kind of learning, I wish I knew about it before I started it, because now I just have things everywhere and I don't know how my performance is doing. I don't know really what's effective because it's just everywhere and I'm trying to get it all together right now.
Yeah. So I think what I'm seeing, and we get to see you on Sundays, and I'm glad you got into the CRM stuff because that's really going to help you. Like that's a huge, huge help. So you've joined us on our Sunday calls that we do on Virginia Wholesaling Real Estate, and there's that live Zoom calls. This past Sunday, we were on there for a long time. We were there for like 3 hours. That was a good one. But I've noticed that you have a younger daughter, right? And you have a family. So like this is all part of like this, what everybody wants to call work-life balance, right? And it's hard. It really is hard. I say that it's a lot harder than most people think. There is no playbook for it. Nobody's written a book about how it works. They have. I just haven't found one that made sense yet. So it's just learning how to balance it. But if you can do this, like you said, if you're disorganized now's the time. So you'll have this CRM. You'll be able to, start. If you saw the one video I talked about, which was core values, and that's just really sitting down with yourself and thinking about who you are as a person and what does it look like that you want your company to look like? Do you want to be able to get up, do a few hours worth of work, go do what you want to do with your child or your wife and have fun, then come back and maybe check back in? This is all part of like the beginning of this. So it's good to see that you're getting yourself set up with your CRM, because that's like, man, if I had known that when I first started, I'd have been way better off. So kudos on you getting started there. But what questions do you have that are kind of talking to today's, setting up as a virtual company? Let's talk about that. What kind of things do you have question wise?
So I'm honestly not 100% sure. So I'll tell you, I work full time right now. I'm in the Navy, so I'm active duty military.
Okay.
And the way I'm going to make this sustainable is to have a lot of automated processes. And right now I'm just trying to set up the foundation, the backbones of the company so that I can let it, do itself while I'm not there, maybe hire virtual assistants while I'm at work or something. So when I come back, I have everything ready to make calls or, go visit places. So I'm trying to make it as automated as possible because I know that I myself will be restricted to work a lot of times.
Okay.
So I just don't know what the best path is. I just know CRM is definitely a part of it. But other than that, I'm not too sure. I'm just kind of working my way through it.
Okay, cool. So again, start from the beginning and think about it, and we can talk about that out a little bit. So what does it look like from step one? Marketing, right? That's what marketing avenues are you coming from? What marketing avenues are you going after to get leads? And then how are you doing either a cold touch, a warm touch? How many touches do you plan to do, right? And then your call systems. What we talked about that. You'll have that set up here shortly, right? Your Podio and your call reel. And then what's your hours of allotment, right? And then how many hours do you need to do this in a day? Because one thing I tell everybody is like, don't go out to hire anybody until you know the basic foundations of what that looks like. For example, guys are like, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant to go data mine. Okay, what do you want them to data mine? And they're like, I have no clue, right? So you have to have a process that you're working on yourself, that you have to pull yourself out of after you've gotten it all put together. And again, that goes back to the SOP, the standard operating procedure it takes to do that piece, right? So the data mining looks like this, and then it has to go here as far as like to a marketing or a mail warehouse. That gets sent out, and now that goes out with a specific phone number on it for that campaign. And now all that comes back in to where, okay, I got my calls in this week from this campaign. What does it look like for how many campaigns and how many calls we got in? And then from there, it's how many appointments you went on, how many contracts or how many offers did you put out, how many contracts you got, and then close, right? So the reverse engineer all of that, that's how you're leading up to it. You have to figure that out for yourself, and kind of following this, broadcast and like what we're talking about will help you get there. But it's really, really understanding what your schedule looks like, because everybody's going to be different. Like you said, you got a real job, a day-to-day job, and you got time with family. So I would highly suggest writing out what your time looks like during the day, that you can commit so many hours a day. And maybe it's broken up, right? For whatever, family things have to happen in between those time slots. But commit an hour or two, get things done, and then go do what you got to do, come back, hour or two, and then track all that through the week. I promise if you do that within a week or two, you're going to realize where your time is most spent, and you're also going to realize your results from that time. Does that help?
Yeah. I'm just curious, I know the CRM is probably going to be the answer, but how are you making that metrics constantly track itself without having to manually type something like that?
So in the beginning, you will have, it's not until you get into like a very deep, big system, you're not going to be able to have automatic metrics. So like, for example, we have metrics that go in because the guys in our system click certain buttons, but then Ashley goes in every week, extracts that data and enters it into our system, right? Mm-hmm. So it enters into an Excel doc. We call it our analytics sheet. As she enters certain things, percentages start to form on the other end. Okay. Every single week, that calculates that data in order to give me a percentage of this or that, in order to get to my question of, for example, how many calls does it take to get a lead, right? And that's a number you have to know. How many calls or how many appointments do you have to go on, or how many offers do you have to make in order to get a deal, right? I mean, we could go back from old days of 23 to 24 offers, but we weren't tracking well. Now we're at, I think, 3.5 or 3.5 offers to get one contract. So in the beginning, you're going to measure those metrics yourself. You're going to have to extract them. But fortunate enough, Podio, you should be able to extract that as an Excel, or you should be able, or a CSV file, which is Excel. And you should be able to have certain pieces in there that will start building that. But in the beginning, don't get bogged down on it. Just remember the basics, right? I'm going to do so many either texts, marketing piece, whatever your campaign is that you want to stick with. And this is the other thing I said. Stick with one, learn it, and do it. Don't bounce all over the place. Don't hear a podcast and somebody be like, well, I'm getting good results with this over here, and this looks awesome. I've seen that, and by the time you're done with all that shit, you don't get anything done. And it's really annoying, right? The other thing I recommend is look online into the book traction. Like, look on a PDF version. I think you can have an MP3 version. Look into that and purchase it. I think they're like $12 or $13, right?
Sorry, for what?
Listen for an MP3. It's a recording of the book.
Yeah. Of any book?
Yeah, for the book traction. So what that's going to teach you is the fundamentals of the business, right? So like, listening to it tells you how to start your company, like what you need to do in order to get organized. In this case, you're learning how to do it, but you're putting it in a virtual world. It all still works the same way. It doesn't matter if somebody does it in a desk format or an office format, or it does it in a virtual setting. It all still works.
Yeah. Definitely.
All that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. My main part is coronavirus has been amazing because, I can stay home and do things a lot more. So I've just been trying to get it all done before I end up having to go back to work all the time. But yeah, I jumped around a lot because I had a lot of different avenues to go down.
Yeah. Focus on one, stick with it, get it going, get it working, and then move to something else. Right? Like when I got into this, I was a contractor and I started, helping people doing contracting and flips. And I met somebody that said, hey, if you discount your contract work, I'll teach you how to do this thing called wholesaling. And I was like, okay. So then I started learning that. So from there, I took that and started realizing that contracting was taking up too much time. I wasn't making the money I wanted to make. So I needed to learn how to get that off my plate and have other guys do it. So that was employees, right? So then from there, I needed to learn how to get into wholesaling, and I started learning how to do it, and then realized like there's only 24 hours in a day. I don't have time to do that, run a contracting business. Like I had to learn what pieces I had to get off my plate. Mm-hmm. So I learned, okay, I need marketing, but I have to data mine. Okay, well, data mining is not my best use of time. So I learned how to do it, and then I made a video, and I trained a virtual assistant how to do it. Right, and then I would follow up, train that virtual assistant with the video, come back, do a test run. They did good with it, and then I would just give it to them. Right, and I'd follow up every 3 or 4 days. Information was good. I got back the next piece, right? And then we brought it back in. So it'd be like, all right, now we need to get this over to a mail house, or we need to get it out in general. So doing marketing in general. I was doing that in-house. I had a guy that was doing my marketing in-house. We had like the machine. I'd buy the envelopes. I'd buy the stamps, the paper, the ink, and all that. Oh my God, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. So we finally learned that we found a warehouse online that could do it for cheaper than we could. And actually, when we started sending volume, we realized like we couldn't even get close to doing it what they were doing it for. So, I mean, right now we're at 88 cents a unit or 89 cents a unit to send an envelope. That's an envelope with a stamp, looks handwritten on the front, and the letter looks handwritten, right? Mm-hmm. And that thing gets us almost a 4% response rate. But I didn't know any of that until I was able to, like learn it, do it, screw it up, and then learn how to make it better. So that's all part of it. But hopefully like you learning here and listening here helps you to curve that. But all I got to say is like, take the time. Like you said, this COVID thing is forced, you had to stay at home. If I'm so glad to hear guys right now say that, because it's forced them to see how much time they actually have. Even when you're home, right? Even like, you got to go to work for whatever those hours are. Like that's that window that's gone. Look at the other time when you were home and what you were and weren't able to do. That should be a massive eye opener, right? Oh, so
I'm not too much of a procrastinator. So I mean, I just finished my master's before I started this one. So I don't really sit around too much, and I just kind of hit the, like for jumping into this and then just going into it. It was just such an information overload. To get into this, end up watching something like a training video or something like that. And then they just go into, for lead generation, you should do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And you're just like, okay, website, Facebook, business page, YouTube. Okay, shit, I don't even have people to send stuff to, so that's,
it's just information overload. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You read and hear and listen so much, but taking action is the most important part, right? And like you said, the foundation is the most important part. You and I talked about this the other day when you're on that live with us. Man, people are like, I can't get started until I have a website, until I have a business card. None of that shit matters. None of it. Take all of it, throw it out the window. Nobody is going to do business with you only because your website or your business card looks like this. Like nobody cares. They want to do business with you, which is they trust, believe, and enjoy working around you, right? That's the only reason they're going to do business with you. And because you're honest. You know what I mean? That's the other part I talk about all the time. Tell people what you're doing. Be straight with them up front. You will get a lot farther in this business. A lot farther.
Yeah, I said my goal from the start, like I said, was to automate the business and just create something that can basically not run itself eventually, but pull in leads without me having to, make 1,000 calls, for example. And that's why I digital marketing side. So those were the two sides from, but that's because I know that those, with SEO and how long it takes for it to actually get traction, it takes a long time. So I was just getting those started so that they start getting their links and building reputation with it and just having it there as a possibility for lead generation. Then I was going to go into something more like mail campaigns or email, call rail, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, your best bet, man, is just get on the phone. If you can't generate enough phone numbers from what you find online, get in the car, go drive for dollars, generate your own leads. And unless you're getting on the total virtual world to start off with, meaning like you're just pulling thousands and thousands of numbers and sending it through a dialer, that's the only time you would need a dialer. We have hundreds of phone numbers and we don't have a dialer, right? So I know a guy though that does, and I'm working with him. He has thousands of phone numbers, right? I mean, we're talking like 20 to 60,000 phone numbers he's got to get through. That's just a lot of data, right? So he gets through a dialer. It crunches so many numbers at a time. But then there's a lot of bullshit that comes with that too, right? Disconnects, do not calls, landlines, fax machines. Like there's a lot of minutia in the way there too. So, I mean, keep it simple, man. There's a method that somebody told me a long time ago. It's called KISS, and it's called keep it simple, stupid. So it's like, don't overcomplicate it. You know what I mean? Your goal right now is just to get out into in front of as many people as you can, get them on the phone, figure out if they're truly motivated to sell. That's it. That's your focus.
Okay.
Good stuff?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man.
Just curious.
All right, I'm going to get over here. Did you have any more questions?
Yeah, just from your perspective, really quick. So you're the digital, like pulling in lead gens from, them filling out your site or filling out that is not too effective as opposed to, driving for dollars or something like that. I guess.
I think if you don't have that budget to start with, I don't know what your budget is. Like, what do you want to spend a month in marketing?
Not too much. So
my original would be, I don't know, to go Google AdWords. We've spent a lot of money and not a lot of success. I've done Facebook ads. We've spent a lot of money, not a lot of success. I've done mail, spent a lot of money, had a lot of success. And I'm just now playing with text message. So I can only speak to what I know. And all I can say is man, if you have zero to very little marketing money in the beginning, I would be as much as I could either in the streets building my own list and then having the systems and processes in place in the background to do that, because that's your time, right? You don't have the money, you have the time. So why even get involved in SEO traffic when you don't have the money to go behind it? You see what I'm saying? So I mean, it's going to take money, right? Like to drive traffic, to build websites, do all that is going to take money. And we have all that, right? But I'm telling you, like, we get most of our leads from mail. That's what we're good at. That's what we know. And right now we're starting to get really good with the text messaging, but I don't have a KPI for that yet. So I would say in the beginning, if you don't have a lot of marketing money, man, either get with somebody that does, or just get out there and do the dirt work in the streets, building your own list, calling the guys, and give yourself a number every single week. I'm going to generate, Brody, there's a guy named Brody that was on our live that we're talking about on Sundays. Did the same thing. Go out. He's going to drive every time he goes out and finds 25 leads. Right? You do it 3 times a week. That's 75 leads. And then he's going to skip trace all that data. He's going to call all of them. And then he's going to measure all those numbers. So from there, that takes nothing but gas, right? For you. That's all that is.
Well,
unless you pay for a skip tracing service. I mean, that's $40 a month.
My brother is a Amazon driver. I told him that whenever he sees a shitty house, take a picture of it and send it to me. So I every day he drives out for 12 hours. He sees crappy houses. He takes pictures and shows me the address, and he just sends it back to me. So that was just something that I was doing.
Yeah, but
one aside, but
yeah, that's one avenue. That's awesome. And what'll happen is in Podio, that'll help you a little bit more, because you'll be able to send him the web link for it. Right? You'll be able to make like a Bird Dog app web link that you just send him the link. He clicks on the link every time and enters the name, takes a picture or the address. Boom. There's your lead. Right? So that's going to make life easier. But the one thing I keep hearing is like, you're getting other people to do other things. Right? But you need to do the work. You need to get in the car and you need to start to go out and build lists. You need to start calling people. Like, you've got to build the foundation to start with. There's not this like immediate automation thing is going to happen. That's the hardest part of this business, right? It's like getting off of your ass, doing the work, putting the time in, and then getting the results. And after you do a little bit of that, then you can start passing things over or like delegating things out little bit by little bit, right?
Gotcha.
You should be bare minimum. You should have like 1 or 2 deals under your belt before anything. Just get your foundations, do the work, pay attention to your time. That kind of stuff is the most important thing.
Okay. That's good.
Cool?
Yep. No, that's good.
Awesome. All right, man. We're going to jump off of here. I appreciate you jumping on here with us. Talk to you soon. All right. So, guys, that was a good talk. Collin's getting started. He's got to get his foundation going, get his system set up, and then he'll start doing the work. That's the other part, guys. You've got, in the beginning when you're doing this, you have to do the work. Got to put the time in, right? I spent a lot of time driving for dollars. I spent a lot of time sending out bandit signs. And I think, well, most recently we just closed one, and that was by accident. I put it in one of our houses that we had under contract, and we were doing a rehab on it, and happened to get a call from it. It was just random. And those things take a lot of time, right? But in that case, they actually did produce a deal. I made $5,000 off of it, so it was pretty good. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be on here and listen to this. Again, this call or this talk or this broadcast, however you want to talk about it, whatever it is, this was talking about systems and set processes for virtual setup. This is what it's about, right? So really good chat with Collin. I appreciate him coming on here. Anybody that hung out and listened to it, I really appreciate you guys hanging out. As always, if you need to reach out to us and need help, check us out at wholesalingoutofthebox.com. There's a lot of things there that you can check out, and hopefully if you need, you can purchase, right? And help you curve this learning curve that you're in, starting this business. Or even if you're experienced, right? And you just want to get more organized and better defined in your company, we would love to help you with that as well. Okay. So just to recap is, how to set yourself up virtually, your standard operating procedures, which is SOPs. And then how to be held accountable is by tracking your numbers and learning to read KPIs. And the other one is, the third one is how to stay focused. And I say, go back to 1 and 2, make sure those are working, right? So those will keep you focused and working, and definitely motivated, right? Those numbers will tell you what your business is doing. Guys, thanks again for hanging out. Love talking to you. Love helping you. And looking forward to talking to you guys more. Talk to you soon. Later.